hear more of the moderate voice. Before I conclude, I must say that we can agree here that there is a lot of room for economic development, even in the current situation when there is no agreement. I would even say there is a role for the economy to help create the conditions for political progress. The Deputy Minister and the Minister of Regional Development, Mr. Silvan Shalom, have joined us. And maybe I'll say as a last sentence before you come on stage, I'm trying to think, is it possible that 20 or 30 years from now, we will see the Middle East better organized as a whole? And I'm trying to go back to the picture I started with, not just the Israeli-Palestinian, but the whole region, the 330 million people with this kind of economy. Can we see, as we look forward, some kind of arrangements like the OECD, NAFTA, WTO? This is the only part of the world that is not organized at all. Maybe you can help us see whether this challenge is possible as you, Mr. Silvan Shalom, Deputy Prime Minister, please.
Thank you, Eval. Would you like me to speak in English or in Hebrew? English. Okay, great. I'll do it in English. Thank you, General Rothschild, all the participants here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here today once again in the Herzliya Conference, that once again became one of the most important platforms and stage for the Israeli opinion makers, while the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and other high-level ministers are coming here. It shows how important it is for them first and for the conference as well to bridge together. We are trying for a very long time now to resume the negotiations with the Palestinians. When we first came to power, the first decision that was taken by the new Israeli government was to establish a new ministry, Ministry for Regional Cooperation. Since then, we are trying very hard to get engaged with the Palestinians economically and politically. Economically, I think the outcome of the last year is very, very positive. While most of the world is facing or faced negative growth in 2009 or close to zero, the economic growth in the Palestinian territory formally was 8%, but informal, they are talking about more than 10% in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank. And I think that while we are trying very hard to ease the life of the Palestinians, the attitude of the Palestinian government is not so positive recently. What we were trying to do is, and we did, is to cancel roadblocks and checkpoints, to enable Israeli Arabs to shop there in the Palestinian territory, to extend the hours of the crossings in Allenby, Tarkumia, and Jalameh, and really to try to help them. And I think that what we did in the last year shows that the Israeli government is very serious in its intention to move toward peace. While you are trying very hard to ease the life of the other side, you would like the other side to take their own decisions in order to ease the life of the Israelis. And I think if we will do it together, the outcome will be very positive for both people, because economy works. I can give you a few examples here in the Middle East. When I was a foreign minister back in Sharon's cabinet, we signed the free trade agreement with Egypt back 2004 and 2005. There were many demonstrations in all over Egypt about that agreement with Israel. But for the first time, the demonstrations were not against the idea of having an agreement with Israel, but why their zones were excluded from that agreement. it immediately created then about 270,000 new jobs. It increased the export to Egypt to very, very high level, and of course it helped the Egyptian economy, and by that to bring more stability to Egypt. I remember myself running after Robert Zoellick, then the Secretary of Trade in the United States, in order to really convince him to sign that agreement between Israel, Egypt, and the United States. He was under a huge pressure of the American textile lobby that were very concerned about the development that they had with Jordan. Because when they signed the same agreement with Jordan back in '98, then, before they signed the agreement, the export from Jordan to Egypt, textile export, was only $13 million. But after a few years, in 2004, 2005, it jumped to $1.5 billion. Of course, it creates 40,000 new jobs there in Jordan. It helps the Hashemite kingdom to stabilize the political arena there. And of course, it helps us while they are more stable. And of course, they are not open to new, let's say, extreme ideas that might come there. With the Palestinians, we would like to do the same. These days, we are working very hard with Ms. Boffenberg, a special advisor to President Sarkozy, to develop an industrial zone in Bethlehem. And that's the only project that really works, because it's located in what we call Area A. And then, of course, the Palestinians are not looking for political gains like they are trying to find in some other projects, like in Jericho and in Jalameh. But we are doing very well there. We opened recently a vehicle crossing in Jalameh next to Jenin that is enabling 500 to 600 cars to go there to shop in Jenin on a daily basis. Every Saturday, every weekend, you can find 7,000 Israeli Arabs that are shopping in Nablus, 15 to 20,000 Israeli Arabs that are shopping in East Jerusalem. And I think that's one of the reasons to find so high growth that we are having these days in the Palestinian economy. We would like really to move forward. Unfortunately, the attitude is not so positive, and we are still doing it through mediators, first and foremost through Prime Minister Tony Blair and his team. And of course, with all the demands or the requests that they are coming with, we are really trying to solve. But unfortunately, they are not really encouraging the cooperation. I would like to give only one example. The first and only meeting that took place between an Israeli minister, myself, and a Palestinian minister, Bassam Khouri, Minister of Economy, back in September 2nd, was criticized immediately by the Hamas and short time after by the Fatah itself, and he was forced to resign after 2 weeks. The attitude of the new attitude of the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, Salam Fayyad, is not really encouraging. I met him many times before, and I found him really a man that is willing to move toward peace. But recently, I think he changed the attitude because of political reasons. He's under a huge criticism because he's not a member of the Fatah. He is not really the one that the activists of the Fatah would like to see as a prime minister. They still look at him maybe as an American agent, someone that was brought by the Americans as Minister of Finance then, and I met him when I was Minister of Finance as well, and after that I moved to become a foreign minister, but he was upgraded to become Prime Minister. I don't want to say that will be the same with me in the future, but still